Right.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, Madam Chair, we're on.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission for Thursday, January 4th, 2024 to order at 7:05. Present tonight, we have Bob Reinhardt, Mike Bugda, John Zuzic, Janet Peckenbach, Andy, Bob, Jeff, and myself, Carol Snow Chair, and our town planner, Aaron Mannix. Raquel is zooming in. Oh, and there's John Morgan. Hello, John, welcome.
Hello.
Zooming in as well, another commissioner. So I think our first order of business is the election of officers. If we can get that taken care of quickly, I hope, and then we'll discuss the agenda. Aaron, do I do this?
I think,
You're all regular members, so any of you may nominate. By charter, you need a a chair
Vice
and a
chair,
vice chair.
secretary.
And typically you have had a secretary as well.
is the nominations for chair open?
They're all.
Well, okay, I would like to nominate Carol Snow. I do not need to go into the excellence of her performance and her stern leadership and the fact that she has eschewed profanity at all times. So I will be quiet and just
Barely.
let that
You
go.
can't see my thought cloud.
Well, yeah, the nomination.
Thank you. So do we go ahead and vote on that, Aaron, or do we go for all of them?
Sure, you have a
Okay.
second on the floor. You can have
Okay,
discussion.
thank you. Any discussion? Should we vote? Vote for Carol Snow for chair of the.
Yeah, see, that is.
Continue reasonable.
You know.
It's like sixth grade.
Sixth grade, okay.
Thanks for the lollipops ahead of time.
Okay, great. Right.
All right, vice chair.
It's vacant. So that was a vote unanimous?
favor?
Oh, all in
Okay.
favor, didn't hear that.
Any opposed? Since you can't, you should do it.
Oh, John's in favor too.
There you go.
Yeah.
I would like to nominate for vice chair, Bob Reinhardt. We have not discussed this, so.
I would second that. The guy's an engineer.
That's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well,
That's a good thing.
goes both ways, depending upon the context.
Any other nominations or discussion? Do you accept the nomination?
I'll go with what you
Excellent.
want. All in favor?
All in favor? John, thank you. Okay.
Opposed? You be it,
Any opposition? No. Reinhardt, vice chair, thank you.
There are a list of things I have to do.
It's long.
Yeah.
Anything Carol doesn't want to do?
Yeah. Thank you.
And a nomination for secretary, I'm happy to make it.
I'll nominate John Dusa.
I would second that.
John Ducey, you're willing?
I will accept. Thank you very much.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Ready, Mr. John? Okay, with that out of the way, we thought we would switch the agenda so that the people who are here to present pending applications can go first. Could I have a motion to do that, and then we'll discuss the P O C D afterwards?
I'll apply the motion.
Michael, we'll do it in a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion about the order of the agenda? Not all in favor? Okay, great. So first application is 23-55, 155 New Road, map 60, lots 9, 10, and 11. This is a PDD. The owner is 155 New Road, Madison LLC. Applicant Hammond Commons LLC. It's a site plan application to construct 46 residential units, an accessory common building, and associated site improvements under section 32 Land Development District. You can come forward, please. So the attorney Marjorie Shansky.
Yes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Happy, healthy New Year to everybody. I'm here this evening with Ryan McAvoy from SLR and with Ron DeGennaro, principal of the company. I think that Ryan can describe to you his subsequent work with Connecticut Water to satisfy the comments that they made with respect to the location of the property in relation to the aquifer protection zone. And so, Ryan.
Thank you, Marjorie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Very good. And I apologize for the lighting in my dining room. It makes me look angry. I can assure you I'm not.
You look fine.
The last meeting and the 21st, we submitted a letter to the commission explaining how we were going to address the comments made by Connecticut Water Company. I had a verbal conversation with a representative of Connecticut Water prior to the meeting, and she seemed agreeable to our approach. And since then, we've submitted to Connecticut Water and to this commission revised plans reflecting what we discussed verbally at the last meeting. There was a couple plan changes, and if I can share my screen, I can just kind of walk you through them very quickly. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. So one of the comments raised by Connecticut Water was to try to provide dry wells for roof runoff infiltration wherever feasible. And there are a series of units, roughly 2/3 of the units, where we have added dry wells shown here as these circles in orange. We didn't provide them at every single building because stormwater infiltration does have limitations in terms of proximity to septic systems. So there are certain cases where we were not able to provide them, but for several of the units, particularly on the western side on the upgrading part of the property, we're able to incorporate them into the plans. And the water company seemed agreeable to that. There was also the incorporation of a hydrodynamic separator, which is essentially an oil grid chamber prior to our sort of underground stormwater detention system that's below visitor parking spaces. And there's a few other items requested in terms of post-construction and maintenance plan, which we've included on our site utility plan. Not this particular rendering, but the actual plans that were submitted to the town. That's really a summary of the plan changes. And there was an open-ended question with Connecticut Water regarding using road salt. If you recall, at the last meeting, we discussed that there's concern about elevated levels of sodium in nearby aquifer wells. And we suggested at the last meeting that we use whatever Connecticut Water recommends. And they were able to provide us feedback that their recommendation is essentially to use road salt, but just in a reasonable and appropriate manner in accordance with suggested guidance at the state level. So there's a best management practice pamphlet and manual with regards to application of road salt, which we'd be happy to incorporate if approved by this commission. So I think in summary, we've satisfied to the extent we can the concerns raised by Connecticut Water. And other than that, the unit layout, site grading, septic systems, stormwater detention, stormwater quality remains essentially identical to what we discussed at the last meeting, other than, of course, the few items I just mentioned based on Connecticut Water comments. So unless there's any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
From Mike Bugbeck?
I assume the HOA is responsible for maintaining the water separator?
It's going to be, yes, either the owner, if it's in apartments, or homeowners association.
I didn't hear the end of your question.
Who is responsible for
The
maintaining?
homeowners association, but I didn't hear what you were
The
asking.
hydrodynamic separator
yes.
who maintains the stormwater.
Yes.
All right, and the last question I had was how many additional water collection pieces of equipment have been added? How many additional ones?
In terms of dry wells, I believe, I believe we have about 8 or 9,
How many did you add?
8 or 9.
Oh, you added 8 or 9. Okay.
Yes. So, yeah,
Okay.
And I think the important element is that the communication between Ryan and the acceptance of Connecticut Water for the alterations that were made in response to their observations. So. And in every other respect, at our last meeting, Ryan took us through the site plan, and I've seen the draft resolution from the town planner, and it captures the recitation of the achievement of the site plan standards. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any
Any other questions?
questions came up from some of the other research I've been doing on the site operation plan. For these developments, there's a list of items that need to occur each year, maintenance of the, whatever.
For the stormwater system?
Stormwater system, there's runoff questions about how things are maintained. It always seems to be, and it came up even with like general residents. It's built into the HOA or responsibility of the homeowners. First, I don't recall seeing this one. I don't know if you have it handy,
Ryan, did you,
but more importantly, what is I understand it becomes responsibility of the HOA. If they don't do that, what is the enforcement?
if it's a condition of your approval, and oftentimes you have required
Right.
the submission of a stormwater maintenance plan. And it is the obligation of the property owner, whether it's an association or an individual entity with rentals, to maintain that. If there's instance where that's not, then you may invite them back to visit you
Is there-
as an enforcement.
Is there a pathway to ensuring that the maintenance is occurring? With respect to, does the town have the authority
Enforcing it.
to enforce it, say, show me that you're maintaining it? Because some of these.
You
some of
mean
these
as
requirements
reports?
are risk management. And if you don't do it, then the risk you're trying to manage is manifested.
Sure, and as as part of our MS4 permitting, that is the town's obligation to be overseeing all
The
of
enforcer.
this. And which is why we would, and that is a claim that I think you see in a lot of towns, is you get a stormwater system, whether it's a detention basin or, and a maintenance plan, and then there's never any follow-up
Right.
on that. It's an age-old
This
problem.
This
so.
is an oft-told tale, but the efficacy of the system depends on its inspection, maintenance, and repair. And I frankly can't recall, Ryan, if your plan also includes an annual reporting to the town, which would be a corollary to
Yeah.
having that requirement and then demonstrating that
Right.
it had been.
It's the demonstration that the
Yeah.
maintenance is occurring is what I'm chasing in 5-10 years. If
Right.
Mhm.
they
Right.
forgot, you don't want to do it.
And for clarity, I want to go back. Homeowners Association, in the event that these are sold units, but they may simply be managed units, in which case the property owner will maintain control and responsibility. So, and that can go either way. That is not a zoning issue per se. But I want for clarity of the record to say
Yeah.
one or the other will be responsible.
Correct.
So if you want to add, I don't know
Yeah,
if
and-
it's there, Ryan, but
That
if
was
you want
my
to add
question
the
to
reporting
Ryan, was did you
requirement.
develop a storm management operational plan?
yes, I'm gonna share my screen again, if that's okay. Okay, so on our revised utility plan, on the right-hand side, we have this sort of, I'd say, pretty detailed schedule.
We don't have it yet on the screen.
Yeah, we're seeing your Zoom screen.
My apologies, hold on.
tab.
All right, how about now?
Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Sorry about
You
that.
have to make the print way bigger.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to read it on this screen, but regardless, we have this a series of recommended maintenance intervals, inspections of critical elements of the stormwater management system. A lot of this is probably pretty standard, but catch basin inspection, cleaning, parking area sweeping, maintenance of the hydrodynamic separator, inspection of dry wells, underground stormwater infiltration, inspections, stormwater infiltration basins, which are our surface basins on the east side primarily of the site. So there's recommendations for inspections and cleaning intervals for all these elements of the stormwater management system. We did not have a recommendation that the town be made aware of these annual inspections or inspection intervals, but that can certainly be something that can be provided, and what should be done, frankly, as a designer of these systems, we often give recommendations for how these are to be maintained, and sometimes it's done correctly, sometimes it's not, frankly. So I think reporting to the town would help enforce that.
That's quite possible for a condition, such as the applicant shall implement the stormwater maintenance program as proposed by the design engineer and provide annual reports to the zoning enforcement officer.
If I may, reports in accordance with the plan, in case there are certain things that aren't necessarily annual, just saying.
That's right. Some are.
Does that sound good to the engineers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Any further questions or discussion?
Not for me.
Could we motion to approve?
I'll provide a motion.
Okay. Second,
Would you like to read
Second.
the,
sorry.
or you do as
I thought we could
design?
read this and then add what we want, the conditions.
Oh, you're gonna read it.
Yeah, I thought we would.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Okay.
I did too.
Or Janet might.
Janet's doing it.
Am I missing?
I
the
can-
second?
Yeah, there's a piece of these, we just voted on.
Oh, Aaron, yeah, sorry.
Didn't, it's very short, the second. Hold on. I'll screen share that for you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The natural.
But I don't have. You want to pass it on to somebody else?
No. I just wanted to point out to you that it's not incomplete.
We're getting there.
I can,
Do you want to
See
even
how-
add the wording,
Do you want to
Aaron,
add it
I
first?
can add it in here for
for
you.
the condition? And Attorney Shansky, if you want to add any language. Homeowners. Perspective.
I don't know if I can read that, Aaron.
Okay, I'll try.
Madam Chair, so the two emendations that I would recommend would be the applicant or its successor. Right, so it captures whatever does happen down the line. And provide reporting to the zoning enforcement officer in accordance with the plan, rather than annual.
Does the plan call for? I know some inspections are quarterly but at least. I don't want to get into having, well,
You're the one that has to
more
enforce it.
than once a year. Well, I get,
According to the plan.
that's fine. We
Yeah,
could do
in
it that way.
accordance with the plan.
We'll get.
The successors things are good. Successors and yours.
Shall implement the stormwater and provide. As long as, I hope the plan will reference, can we?
You want
And the
comments
plan
around
that the-
according to the plan on that? Would that make sense? Put a report, comma, according to the plan, comma, to the zoning. That make it,
Well, I don't think the plan
Erin, just to help out.
And I beg your pardon, I think since the program is called the Stormwater Maintenance Program, that plan ought to be program. And you may as well make it a capital P. That's why I don't screen share type.
This thing, given this time.
I'm a lawyer.
It's a defined
I made a mistake.
7:25.
Please feel free to chime in.
Well, yeah, I mean, the goal is to implement the plan and provide regular reporting to the zoning enforcement officer.
Just to make sure there is some enforcement. Follow up.
So my question
Did you
is,
write that down?
this is almost for you, is there were 46 homes. Who's giving you the report?
So that will depend on who is the governing entity of the either common area, which would be an HOA, or if it is a rental situation, it's gonna be the property
Got it.
owner
Yeah, so
who
the HOA
who is responsible.
Make sure you have a name. You
That's
just
the
want to-
subject of this.
And that'll be captured
Yeah,
in the
depends.
documents, should it become an HOA.
Okay,
Everyone happy with
All
that?
right, ready?
Ready?
fire away.
With appropriate emotion, Janet.
Oh, thank you. Okay, the following resolution is offered. The Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approves application number 22-55, 155 Lee Road, map 60, lots 9, 10, and 11. Zone PDD, owner 155 New Road, Madison LLC. Applicant, Manhasset Commons LLC. Site plan application to construct 46 residential units and accessory common building and associated site improvements under section 32, plan development system. As shown on a set of plans, Manhasset Place Residential Development, 155 New Road, Madison, Connecticut. Regulatory submission, November 1st, 2023, revised January 2nd, 2024, prepared for Manhasset Commons LLC by SLR, 18 sheets and architectural plans, new road units, New Road, Madison, Connecticut, by Craig A. Liliberte, architect, dated March 29, 2022, revised to October 20, 2022, with the following conditions. 1, the zoning officer be notified at least 48 hours prior to commencement of any regulated activity. 2, that all erosion and sedimentation controls be installed prior to any site disturbance, be maintained for the duration of construction activities, and until the site is sufficiently stabilized to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. 3, the applicant shall utilize DEEP's guidance document, best management practices for temporary construction and reconstruction operations in aquifer protection areas for the duration of construction activities. 4, the applicant shall file necessary lot line revisions on the Madison land records prior to submission of application for preliminary certificate of zoning compliance. 5, the applicant shall file the approved affordability plan on the Madison land records prior to submission of application for preliminary certification of zoning compliance. The plan shall clearly identify the administrator of the affordable units. 6, the stormwater system shall be inspected by the design engineer during construction to verify consistency with the approved plans. 7, an as-built survey of all improvements, including stormwater system components, shall be submitted to the zoning enforcement officer with written verification from the licensed engineer that the stormwater system was constructed in accordance with the approved design plans. This submittal shall be completed prior to the issuance of a final certificate of zoning compliance. 8, given the location of this development within the aquifer recharge area of the Connecticut Water Company's Reddick well field, the applicant shall provide a plan utilizing best management practices for the removal of ice within the development. This plan shall demonstrate how the applicant will minimize the use of chemical de-icing agents. 9, the applicant or its successor shall implement the stormwater maintenance program as proposed by the design engineer and provide a report according to the program to the zoning enforcement officer. The commission acknowledges that the applicant has provided a conceptual plan to help mitigate safety and operational issues at the intersection of Route 450 and New Road, Duck Hole Road. The applicant has further agreed to pursue discussions with the town and Connecticut DOT regarding these proposed improvements. In the event that changes to the approved plans are required as a result of other agency permitting to support the proposed activity, the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the right to review said changes and may require modification of this approval. This approval is made based upon the finding that the proposed use is consistent with the approved master plan for the planned development district for the subject property. The commission approved said master plan with the understanding that the applicant successfully demonstrated that the proposal is consistent with section 32.2.1 of the zoning regulations, as the location, uses, and layout of the proposed PDD are in conformance with the intent of and the goals and objectives contained in the plan of conservation and development. The PDD is in harmony with the surrounding neighborhoods and land uses, and its proximity to major roads, including I-95, will help provide convenient access to the site while minimizing impacts to local residential streets. The effective date of this approval is January 18th, 2024.
Thank you, Janet. I have a second.
Eric, there's a minor issue in item 9.
What's the issue?
It should be a report or reporting.
Did I say a report?
You did, it's not written.
You
down.
did, you said
You
it.
want a report? Here you go.
Bingo, done.
All right, then, could I have a second?
Second.
And any further discussion? All in favor,
All in favor?
including John Morgan? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you,
Good luck
Brian.
with it.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, so also pending, we have 23-61 Governor's Way, map 35, lot 2, which we need to table to our January 18th meeting. Could I have a motion to table? Janet, thank you. Heather? All right, Tom first. You hear the discussion? All in favor? Okay, so we'll discuss that at our next meeting. So flipping back up to the plan of conservation and development. Rachel, are you with us still?
Yes.
And thank you for waiting. We appreciate that. And we have a hard copy with all of the track changes, making it nearly impossible to read. Just wanted to let you know, Rachel, we have hard copies of that. I don't know how you want to go ahead and go through what we've been working on.
Yeah, I can briefly kind of go over the changes that were made since last time you guys looked at the document. Honestly, like most of it should look the same. The only difference is that the policies and actions have been, instead of being split between the built and natural environment, they're now in their own section. That kind of like speaks to the overlap between built and natural environment. So I can share my screen and kind of show you.
You could show us section 5. I think that was the
Yeah.
addition. That'd be great.
Okay. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a little brief kind of introduction to what is happening here. We go over these 3 goals, briefly outline. Sorry?
Can you zoom in, Rachel?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Is that better or more?
Keep going.
It's better.
I'll go until we're off screen here.
That's good.
Okay, so briefly outlining these 7 policies, and then get into each policy, and then its corresponding actions.
Rachel, those policies, so the 3 goals are the same from our last discussion in the PowerPoint presentation. The policies
Yes.
are as well, but there was rewording. I think, Rachel, you and John worked on, I recall that, I think policy 1 was the most wordsmithing.
Yeah,
But
there's
overall, they're generally the same.
yeah, very little about the actual substance of the policy has been changed. It's really just the wording, making it flow a little bit more smoothly. So that should all look pretty familiar. And yeah, so each policy has its corresponding actions. And that's really, that's about it. Like it's pretty much should all be what you've seen before, just reorganized.
So as we've consolidated these action items, we've placed them in what seemed to be the most appropriate home under the policy column. And so we were hoping today to be able to go through these actions and see, do they make sense? Are they redundant? Should we consolidate some? Should we eliminate? Did we forget anything? Things of that nature. And then, based on your comments this evening, then we can send those to a lot of the stakeholders who came and gave us these suggestions for action items to see if this, because these action items, someone will need to implement these and get this done. So then we come back and ask, is this reasonable? You're likely going to be the responsible party for achieving this action item. And then we can get some additional feedback that way. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I just want to add that I made a pass at the policies and actions to consolidate. Well, I didn't change anything. I just rearranged a little bit. One thing I did is I took away the numbers because I didn't think we should imply that there's a priority here.
In order.
So I just listed a policy without a number, and then I took away the A through J or whatever, and regrouped them a little bit. So I thought there were some sort of overarching actions that had sub-actions that made it, I think, a little more concise in a way, even though I didn't really change too much. I moved a couple of things, so I think maybe that's what you see in the screen here. I'm looking at, though, a version where I haven't exactly accepted all changes. I just don't show all the track changes, so I can read
Okay.
it much more clearly.
And Rachel, I sent you a copy of that as well.
Yes.
And what would you prefer to have as the document to edit while we're working? Would you
Well, I'm
prefer
wondering-
to have it broken out?
Yeah, how does everyone
Carol's
feel?
version?
Or do you want even a cleaner copy, which I could even just email it to you right now, or you have it, or just show it without all the track changes, maybe?
Yeah, you can hide the
Yeah.
the changes, right, Rachel?
Yes.
Yes, do you see my screen right now?
We
On
still
the,
see the old screen of the
the old-
recommended
okay.
actions.
Okay, let me try to reshare so we're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right if we want to start with this document since it is essentially, all the policies and actions, if we want to do it that way.
Show without change.
Can you, yeah, change your view?
Sure, I'm gonna have changes in line.
My-
Just accept.
Well, yeah, you could hide markup.
You can hide them too.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Phew, thank you.
There we go.
Now, please.
Now zoom in.
Oh yes, sorry guys. All right,
You got it.
cool. We're here.
This is really pedantic, but the word various is just a throwaway, so I would get rid of it on the policy. So it reads through spaces naturally built, providing venues for it.
I like it.
So under the policy, so how, now that I'm not seeing the track,
We have a, what constitutes a venue for celebrations?
Yeah, and we, so that was added. I didn't understand that.
Where is it?
It's right on the top.
The first one, it says venues for celebrations, shopping, recreation, dining, and relaxation.
Yeah, you get the rest.
Bars?
Celebrations, I mean, like birthday parties and what, I mean,
well, the language that,
I just
that,
don't know where that.
Bob, do you have that language in front of you of what you had in the, I can find it in the,
Yeah, but I just put a bunch of.
So it's the downtown district.
I know,
you
I
know,
just.
that's a
I
venue. for
think I have it up
celebrations.
as well here.
For the July parade there.
The
Memorial
town
Day parade,
green.
The town green, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
that's true.
that's what, I'm assuming that's what.
They're
it's
real
talking about.
celebrations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was coming from like a public space standpoint, like spaces for events and things of that nature.
and accessibility. This is our accessibility component of connections between them.
Celebrations.
Interesting verbiage, but yeah.
Yeah. Celebration sounds very personal.
Yeah, I think maybe public celebrations.
Or public, or
is what I
public
wanna say.
events.
Or events, yeah, something like that. maybe.
Or, oh, yeah.
The wording is important because people are gonna start building things to meet this requirement. So celebrations, parties, public events are different.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't bother me either way, but it's the one thing I took away from this is gonna drive the thought process of others.
Right,
I don't think public events or something.
I think that might be better.
Because you could have a memorial or something, I mean, it's not a
Why not
celebration, obviously.
Why not just events?
Well, because it's, they're not personal,
But they could.
as opposed to,
See, if you look at what's gonna be done with Academy, that is gonna have spaces for
personal.
private events and celebrations.
Well, when you look at your actions under here too, that might help.
Yeah.
Your wording of the policy of where
Good idea.
Yeah, where that fits in.
going in here, it's about,
If you read it that way, then, yeah, I think public events is fine.
It could be community events too, but I think public events. is a good word.
Public events is more specific.
That's fine.
That's things like that.
Right.
And for me, that's the idea, that's what Madison will become, right? A place you go to and you can do those things. Yes.
Overall,
do you want to read through them one by, I mean, we kind of did that before, the action items one by one to see if you are in
And Carol, I'm
agreement.
sorry, you took out the 1, 2, 3 and
I
ABCs.
took out the numbers, yeah, I took out
Yeah.
the outline form just to make it, also, well, first of all, so it's not implying that we prioritize
Right.
these. And then second, I mean, the formatting, we can play with however you all want to, but I just found the A through J to H or something like that or something.
There were.
I'm a big fan of bullets.
There were 10 what we're calling implementation strategies now under these policies, which for all effective purposes, not doable. You can't chase
That's
10, 7, and 70.
That's right,
and
and
you're like
that's
a team
been
of
shown in
500.
our current VOs, right?
Right, you're not gonna achieve anything.
Right.
So I like this because now it whittles it down to, are there just 3 or there's another?
It's like 4 in each
It's like 4,
policy.
right, so to
That's
achieve this
doable.
policy, implement these 4 strategies, then the actions underneath or more.
Makes it more doable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can assign someone that updated town development plan, that's your job.
I think if you put bullets, it would make it a little easier to read.
Yeah. I think the
No,
formatting-
yeah.
Without
Formatting.
implying
And what
prioritization.
shape should we?
Well.
Bullet, I
very
think,
smaller,
is-
but you're the design person.
A lot of options.
Stars. I like diamonds.
Yeah, I only have one concern. and
Yeah,
I'm more than willing to be overridden on this.
Okay, you deteriorated already, it's 7:45.
So my only concern is, how and where do we know that we meet any state, local, or whatever mandates? How do we know?
That's actually a good question for Rachel, but we talk about it.
Yeah, the whole front section
Yeah, we do.
of the,
Well, why, if there's a
Draft.
matrix, how do you point out where it is if you don't have any enumeration whatsoever in the document anymore?
So a couple of things. One is there's gonna be in the appendices, there's gonna be all the references that we need, but
But
are you
don't
saying
have
that you wanna,
You don't have a policy one, you just have a policy.
You footnote them in the document, so you can.
I don't know if we need to or if we can really, but,
No, you have to think about that too. How do we do it?
I guess that's what I was missing.
how do you identify the
How do you
policies?
identify?
Yeah, how do you identify it
Yeah.
and then
When you
know?
have an index, or you need to
Well, or,
refer to something and the public just wants to.
or you label
You
them.
don't,
say, I wanna find
you
this.
don't necessarily need numbers,
Yeah,
you need a way of representing.
right.
And
Right.
there is a
Doesn't
way
have
to
to be a
do
number.
that.
Sure,
I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's
I'm
crazy how
I'm good with that, I'm good with that.
There's a way of doing a matrix that has three different things and in a box that shows the tick marks, so we pull it off. It's actually, it tends to be more informative, if you see policy, create an accessible, you know, translate it to policy one, it's right in your face. It's gonna be big. All right, I can work, so just write down, don't laugh, write down house of quality as the template.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
You know,
House of quality?
Yeah.
it's a,
We should have
Do you like
done a QFD versus.
I know.
the engineers are.
You guys, I think it's,
It works.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Great.
I
And
like
then you'll have to make, list the whole title, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about your action item, Carol, just to kind of understand? I know there's little bullets in front of these three subsections, but so an action item is updated downtown development plan, building upon the 2005 Bradley Road Vision Study to include the entire downtown village district. And I'm assuming these are sub actions?
Yeah, they were
or
separate, they
how-
were just listed as separate actions, and I just thought I thought they actually were covered by a downtown development plan.
Well, I think our point is you should probably identify them as actions if that's what they are. You say,
But Aaron, I think some of that actually would get worked out too, when we start to think about who's the implementation and who's responsible. If, if they're completely separate, and maybe they don't fit under that category.
Right, or there's various studies that
Or subgroups and sort of.
create this plan?
Yeah, that
That's,
you'd have
that
a
was
bigger
kind
team for the main action item, and then you'd have smaller sort of breakout groups or one person for the sub categories. I was hoping it works. but-
Yeah, so you did process breakdown, you basically have the higher level goal
Yeah,
with all the parts that have to be implemented to accomplish that
exactly.
goal.
Yeah.
So that listing is really those pieces.
And rather than have them all sort of equally balanced action items, I thought these were underneath.
So they're probably broader, not specific. to any
Yeah,
one.
they're part of the bigger action item.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to figure out how to,
But I wonder if we should let everybody get a chance to think about this.
well, so why don't we read through them? Or at least kind of, I don't know, is that,
Sure, why? I think it's good,
I mean, I'm happy to go through them all, but I also, like, it took me a while to sit and look at them and think about it. And we can still do that. We can do both. We can go over it tonight and then have people continue to think about it and edit.
Carol, I would suggest we go off on our own and read this first. I mean,
It's a lot.
we're gonna wordsmith this thing to death.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
trouble, I mean, we could, yeah, we
Yeah,
could
send
keep
it
doing
out.
this for another year,
I agree.
right? Everybody's got a different word and idea for, so.
So we should go ahead and go through it, John, I'm sorry.
No, we should
You can overthink about it.
we should take this, we should take
Yeah, I
time
agree.
to read this. And really with an idea that looking at it generally, not if it needs to be a comma or a word change. I mean, there's gonna be continual word changes on this thing.
That's fine.
Okay, how do we get the version to add edits? Where is the most recent version?
Aaron, did you
I
share?
emailed you,
Can
I
we,
think it was a 4 o'clock email.
Okay, so it's a Word document where you. click
right,
edit?
so it is a Word
It's a Word
document,
document.
right, so Carol basically cut out the policies and
I copied
action
it,
items and put them in a new Word
That
doc.
section.
we try using some kind of shared site, so we can all edit the same document at once? Or is that gonna be too?
I think that's what it was. We did the last time.
No, I just sent it as a Word
That's
document,
all.
Aaron just sent it as a Word
Yeah,
document.
and Erin gets 5 different,
You're right.
she has what we tried before with the PowerPoint.
Like just a Google Doc that people can comment
I
on?
use Microsoft OneDrive. But that allows us to edit at the same time.
You can share.
Yeah, and they can see each other's edits real time.
Do you want to do your House of Quality?
First,
Version first?
No,
Okay.
That's not gonna be
I
straightforward.
think that's gonna be,
last.
because I had the same question. There's, when going through it, the state requires you to consider these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says you should also, but you don't have to consider the regional ones. So we need to have the regional and the state and ours all together.
Correct.
And.
I mean, we have
House of
outlines
Quality
of
may
them.
not be the right way to do it, the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
But if we have those, then we can just do it like we did before. With the, make sure everything at all.
So you're concerned just to have checks and balances that everything that you're addressing here, I think that's something, Rachel, that we can probably help with, right?
Yeah, they can do it, that'd be great.
Yeah, between me and John, we can figure that out for next.
My point,
Yes.
my point, Aaron, is you wanna make it auditable.
Yes,
That's what you want. So that it can be audited by anybody at any time. Okay, now, Carol, I'm gonna plead with you to put some kind of policy enumeration. We could even use a random hexadecimal number, if you would prefer, so that there's no prioritization implied.
Just put a disclaimer at the top.
Yeah, I was gonna mention.
I think make it priority, but for the priorities, it's important to be able to talk about it.
Okay.
it'd be easier.
I don't know.
But the some things I would use bullets, not
That's fine.
great. That makes sense.
Yeah, the ABC.
Policy, because that's less.
And also feel free to reconfigure and juggle and, move things around.
You know what, I gotta tell you, I can't, if I get this at 4:25 in the afternoon before a meeting, there's no way I can sit down and look at it and come here and it's impossible because of my job.
Absolutely.
So that's not realistic.
Well, that wasn't the intent of setting that, to have people review
No, but I'm
that
just saying, next
beforehand.
time around, if we're gonna do this in wordsmith, I would like to be able to get it pretty quickly.
Well, that was the working draft that I sent out. So that was what we were planning to discuss this evening when I sent the agendas out, or the action items
Right,
under
I'm
the
just asking
policies.
that if we could get the working document sooner than the same day as.
I did.
You got it.
I got it today at 4.
No. You
You got-
got Carol's
You got my
suggestions
reworking.
from her reviewing the working draft today.
Yeah, correct.
Everybody had the same policies ahead of time.
Okay.
That was, I just, that's the only thing I
Okay,
wanted
that's all
to.
I'm reading, I just.
She's not the
Please,
person of the week for no reason whatsoever.
So, okay, so my understanding is we're not gonna go over any actions today? And we're gonna table this to the February meeting?
Please.
Okay. Okay,
We're gonna cogitate.
The
Can we-
legends
can
took the
Can we agree to
oxygen out
something?
of
The wind out of our
I
sails.
think, you know, I was so much
What?
work and.
Can we
so-
agree to get something done between now and February, so we have a definitive thing to review in February?
Yeah.
Ahead of time, yeah, like a week or two ahead of time.
So I think this is a good working document for the policies and the actions, implementation strategies, right?
well,
So-
well, that's we don't know that, because not everybody had a chance to read it, so
But if we could work on it in the next couple of weeks and have something then to,
I just want to leave the meeting with an action for everyone to say, do this before the next meeting. And at the next meeting, we will review the results of whatever this is.
yes, so that would be the working draft that John and Rachel sent out.
Right.
And Carol has shared her suggestions for edits of that, which you haven't had an opportunity to review.
Correct.
So you should review the action items that are in the working draft. That was our goal for this evening, to go through that and make your suggestions. If you agree with Carol and wanted to use that, you're welcome to, or I can just put the working draft in a shared document and you can make comments on the working as side comments. You can mark up your own comments and send to me, and I will send them to John and Rachel, and they can keep track of everyone's comments. So that before our next meeting, you'll have everybody's information. That, to me, would be the easiest thing,
I think
to
that's
be able to usher your, you know,
This is
so.
not helpful. With everybody, you know, to read and say, well, Carol did this and Bob did, you know, it just.
So then take your
That's
Word document, make your changes and send them to me.
Okay.
And then we'll get that information to John and Rachel and send that back to you so that you can consider it. And then you have to discuss them here to
Right.
see if what you're in agreement.
John Morgan, does that sound good?
Didn't we ever talk about a smaller work, a subgroup to try to pull something together, maybe with Rachel and John?
Yeah,
That's what we did
but then
with
next
the
step-
reduced policies.
The next step was to do that for the actions. My concern is we're not gonna get anywhere. We're gonna have another document that's almost edited, that's gonna be wordsmithed in
I agree.
February, and we're gonna be stuck. I'd much rather just say, do this specific thing, so the actions have to be, there are too many. They have to be skinny down. Carol took a run at it. I had a different perspective, but kind of the same thing, which is pick the 3 or 4 most important ones that are in the policy. Those are the implementation strategies. Everything else is color commentary, which is valuable and we don't want to forget, but they don't rise to the level of implementation strategy.
Agreed.
We need to get to that level.
I like
Don't
what
get that by February, we'll never get this done.
That's right. Remember, we're trying to wrap this up by April. I mean, we'll never do it.
So I'm trying to figure out some way of.
Well, I
assigning
appreciate that.
action to.
Yes, but and perhaps you're comfortable, I don't want to not give you the opportunity to review all of the actions that we had gathered from your feedback and have the opportunity to say you think something should be in here rather than just, I'm not saying Carol's wrong, but just accepting a different version where you may not have seen that list. You may get to the same conclusion, but I want you to at least have all of the information to
Yeah.
make your own decisions as well.
Well, I'd be happy to have Bob
We
take a
just-
run at it.
Yeah, I'll look what you have. Can we have 10 minutes at the next meeting?
I
Just
agree,
to touch base,
I agree with that.
see where we're at.
We can put it on for the next meeting, sure.
15 minutes at the very beginning, just to say, okay, action.
Yeah,
Here's
put
where
it-
we are.
Any big problems with the current actions? how we-
I need clear marching orders
Yeah, I
to
like.
do what I need to do by February.
If y'all have input, give it to Erin before.
That
Actually,
meeting.
give it to her before 45. Before the next meeting, so she can collate it, right? And then we'll look at that and say we have general agreement.
So that's January 18th.
Right.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Joe, Aaron, what you sent out on what date?
With your agenda,
I'll get it.
I'll look. It's the document that's posted on the agenda,
Oh,
the
okay,
working draft.
okay. And that has all the latest changes that we've all, including Carol's.
No, it doesn't have mine.
Ah,
No, because Carol took that and prepared comments
that's
for
what I
this
wanna see.
evening.
Oh, okay.
And that I
that's
sent
in
that
that
to you
this afternoon.
today.
Yeah.
And printed a copy in anticipation of the conversation.
12/28 was the full.
The big one.
Right,
Right,
right.
that's the date of the first one, this was today.
Any
I
thoughts
can
from our
resend them
attorneys
in
the
one
audience?
email if
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah, you
That's a good
guys,
idea.
I'm looking at the.
Besides
I'm
process.
looking at the policies. I was here when you guys separated them into the policies, which, you know, taken alone. And I said this at the public session before the Board of Selectmen. Nobody can really disagree with the policies. I think that's the point of them, right? That you just don't disagree, and everybody would want this in a utopian environment, I guess. But, and just looking through the actions, which I think is where the rubber hits the road for my practice and Marjorie's practice is, you know, what types of developments are going to be received favorably, or at least to have some predictability about what we want. And I am looking at these and I too would like to look at them. And if I have thoughts, I'm happy to share them as a member of the public with Aaron. But I'm looking at the policy relating to climate change, which was the policy formerly known as Policy 5, I guess. And that talks about.
AKA.
It talks about actions regarding climate change and future social, economic, and environmental challenges, but I've gone through it a couple times now. I don't see any actions there that relate to any
Social and
socioeconomic
economic.
factors. And if that's the case, I think we might want to just say it's climate change and environmental challenges, because that appears to me to be what we're encouraging action towards. And I don't know that we ought to just throw aside future or current social and economic factors and whether there ought to be actions under a separate policy related to that. But those are my, I mean, we can wordsmith, we can talk about what different words mean to different people, but I'm not here to do that tonight. I recognize the challenge that you have had before you. It's not easy to gather all these thoughts. I did read the policies from when they were separated. I really don't see how anyone could really object to the policies. Again, I think the actions are what are important. And I agree with the fact that actions in particular, I don't necessarily know that the policies don't need to be numbered or not numbered, but the actions, I think, ought to all have sort of equal weight because they, depending on a project or particular circumstances, it may be something you want to prioritize, or it might not be something you want to prioritize. Yeah. So I agree that the actual action should be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
And your commission would evaluate whether they're consistent with the policies, et
The
cetera.
priorities are relative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so those are my.
I did add case by case, I think, Aaron, to some of our proposals for zoning changes. So read by language there carefully. Because I think it is important to have it case by case. Marjorie? Attorney Shansky.
Marjorie.
Okay,
Um,
but that's a good point about the sustainability where we were kind of broadening the definition, then we kind of go back to just focusing on natural environment. So thanks.
it would be presumptuous of me to comment, having just sort of reintroduced myself to the work that you're doing, but I do want to say, because I teach land use planning at Quinnipiac Law School and at the Yale School of the Environment, and that we worked last semester following your hearings on this topic by playing them in class. And I intend to resume that when school
We were the
starts
case study.
when school starts next week. But, and to that end, especially talking about climate resiliency, some of my students, one of my students at Quinnipiac did a report for the Climate Resiliency Committee. Somebody else did something for wetlands and
I remember,
and
yeah.
natural resources inventory. And somebody else did a third thing that I'm now forgetting, what?
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
That was a hot
I
topic.
offer you my students at Yale and at Quinnipiac, should there be
That's
interests, topics of interest that they could enhance your appreciation of by devoting their semester to researching and reporting to you. So
How about social and economic sustainability?
if I had a pencil, I would write that down. Maybe Chris will lend me his. for
Can you
that.
tell I used to teach you
I have
that?
it, circle.
Yeah.
That's such a great resource, Marjorie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
well, I offer it with an open heart because it works both ways. It's mutually advantageous for them to have real world experience.
Yes.
So thank you for the opportunity to butt in with that.
And we welcome them to join us in any way also.
You'll see us from time to time.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Oh, I do want to say one other thing. Count me among the numbers brigade, because when I'm writing the note to you that says this is consistent with the plan of conservation and development as section 1.2.
Okay.
It just makes the utility of it and the user friendliness of it
You're absolutely right.
palpable. Thank you.
Terms
Alright.
of enumeration, yes.
Go at it, everybody. I appreciate the
Hey,
support.
I'm all for the randomized hexadecimal number. I think that would.
Yeah, that works for me too. All right, Rachel, are you taking all this into?
So section one.
Yep, I have a
policy,
lot of notes here.
Great. Any other thoughts, comments?
So it's section one, policy XYZ, not policy one XYZ.
Something like
That's the only,
that.
that's the
Yeah.
only change, really,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So you have a reference point.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. And I'll
Thank
be
you.
sending you some comments so that we can
Yeah, stay
compile
tuned.
them.
Sounds good. I have some stuff for me and John to talk about and work on too, so we'll be in touch.
Great,
Great.
thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too.
Okay, I think we can move on to our approval of minutes.
Minutes, quick, the December 21st meeting, members present, the Snow, Duza, Ruben, Reinhardt, Bugda, Peckinpah, Downs, and Morgan. Motion for approval? Yep. Second, yeah, any comments or edits? Yes, John?
The date is wrong. We're calling the meeting of December 7th. It was the December 21st. In my calling the meeting to order.
Oh. Didn't notice that. Okay.
And then also, actually, it was an Attorney Shansky. She was referred to as Attorney Marjorie.
That's probably a little.
I thought we should try to say Attorney Shansky. It's down
Yeah.
under 23-55, under the pending applications.
Okay. Anything else? Great. Vote to approve. All in favor?
I will abstain since I was not.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, what did you, was that funny? I mean,
Any further remarks, Sarah?
My question is if you would like to add the ledges item to the the January 18th
I
meeting.
don't know
for
how does everyone
discussion.
feel.
How many weeks is that?
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I think that we should, because that gives us 2 more weeks to review, and
Yeah,
all we have is what's already in front of us. Right,
And I
so,
think we're pretty, some of us are, you know,
Is it a
we're
big,
ready.
what's the agenda look like at this?
There are
point?
no public hearings. These
Oh,
are your
good.
only pending applications, 9 Governors Way.
Oh, great,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
What?
So the
So we can
oppor-
slip in a little bit about the
We can
POCD,
do more.
yeah.
so we can make
go
sure we're
for it.
making progress, and then if we want to add that as, yeah, I think that works.
Maybe we can add more time about the POCD.
There's a possibility as well that 9 Governors will be tabled. This is a doc application that also requires a COP from the state. Typically, we hold off on coastal applications until the
Did we get
state
that?
takes action, just to make sure they're not changing anything. And that application has been submitted. So we were just gonna coordinate with Bob Russo, who is the applicant's representative from CLA Engineering, just to see where that stands.
Okay,
If they're not ready for January, then that can get pushed to February
and definitely, I think we should.
as well.
So how do you want us to behave, Aaron? Like, do you want us to each come with a report, a summary of our,
I think that's up to you, how,
that's.
if you're ready to have a discussion, bring your information.
Yeah, bring,
Oh, yeah,
sort of bring your
that's a good
notes,
idea.
bring your points that
Well,
we
you guys
can
already-
discuss. I thought that, because that's what I thought we are gonna do tonight,
Yeah,
the executive session, but we didn't really get there, so
You don't have to have on for take action on anything at the next meeting, you can,
just share.
and maybe that's better.
But don't,
You just
don't we
have
to
deliberation.
Don't we have to be in public? Didn't he say before
It's
we
not a
do our
public hearing, but
deliberation?
it's a public.
No, no,
meeting.
right, exactly. Don't we have to call? a public
Is there any timing associated with
No,
that?
all of your meetings are public meetings,
So.
meaning that
So
it's
it
not
doesn't
an
have to be-
executive
It doesn't have to be
session.
special,
Public can't
just
say anything.
on the.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all.
Doesn't matter, no, doesn't matter if it shows up.
And we'll need to make the point that it's not a discussion, it's
Exactly.
public.
All right, yeah.
And see how it goes after, Bob, you missed a good meeting. The 21st.
It was very local.
You might wanna watch the YouTube.
Until
Yeah.
By the way, can we ask where that stands or?
Where what
Was that
stands?
did they resubmit?
No, they withdrew it.
I know, but did they?
No, there's not a resubmission.
They have
Wait a
to,
second, I was at that.
They have to- they have to get the land
That's what I'm
trust.
saying.
Wait a second, I was here.
Right, but
You can vote in favor.
I didn't
Sorry,
know
it's
whether,
good.
I thought they were
They
gonna
changed my
resubmit
vote.
everything at your suggestion right
I was
away.
here.
and-
Not yet, they're getting all their ducks in a row.
Oh, okay, that's all, I just,
Yeah.
that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I was here, I remember, it lasted,
So for the 21st, we confused the Bobs.
yeah, you can pop, no, I was here. It was the November 20-something that I missed, I was
Okay,
here.
I had no other comments.
No other comments from me?
Well, so Eric, for the meeting minutes then, Bob Reinhardt was absent.
Mhm.
Yes,
21st.
Bob was.
Yes,
That
he
Bob
was.
wasn't.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Right, we're often confused.
Tell when you have the same name, right?
Right. So we get the two Bobs confused.
Oh, right.
Okay, Raquel, did you get that? That's,
And it's a wash.
Yeah.
it's Bob O'Connor who was there, not Bob Reinhardt on the 21st.
Conservation of Bob.
Yeah, as long as it was a Bob, it's okay. Bob.
As long as we had a Bob representative.
All right, any other comments or anything, any topics?
Oh, I have a topic. Since we are relatively full now, I think we're only missing alternates. We have
Right,
9
that's correct.
commissioners. And this is the first time since I've been on the board last year that that's happened. I was wondering if we could have an executive session with members and you, Carol, just to kind of get to know each other, but also go over everything together.
We've talked about
There are
training
legal,
sessions.
so there are legal parameters in which you can go into executive session. You can have training sessions with our attorneys, or you are required to have continuing education. So I guess we're happy to set something up for you.
I
If you
want to
need-
know. But Bob?
No, I think we've been talking about, can we come up with some system where we're not going as late? And we're not having people wait hours, and we tend to give short shift to the ones that come in at 10:30 or 11. It seems to me that we should be able to figure out a way of working with the staff more effectively, so that doesn't happen,
Well, one thing I've
happens less.
thought, and I did watch the YouTube video from the 21st, which I told myself I was not gonna do, but I couldn't not do it. And I can see that, like, using that as a case study, we were just going around in circles for so long. And, at some point, Erin, I think I should have just said, or you even said it's not a conversation, you know, it's a public hearing as you present, an applicant presents the application and then we respond to it. There's some back and forth.
So
if we
maybe
have
to go
questions.
through the
Yeah,
process.
so some of that process where.
No, mine was completely different. I
Oh, sorry.
agree with Bob on
So
that.
there you
No,
go.
I was just asking, I feel like that we've all just kind of come in and, okay, three of us came in at once and we, you know, and we're all flying blind in a respect, so I guess you could call it a training session.
That's what I thought you meant, yeah.
But it would be just among ourselves. That's why I said executive session. It
I don't believe that can
It doesn't
Occur
qualify as an executive
in
session,
an
but is there a way
executive
we could have?
session. You can have training sessions, but when you meet, it's in a public meeting.
Could we call it as a special meeting though, so it's not one of our regularly?
With other, you
Is
can
there
have
anything
special
else you
meetings,
call it? I mean, I just.
I think it's
you
special.
can have special meetings, they're open to the public,
Selectmen do that all the time.
which is
Oh, that's
fine,
special.
and your meeting can be dedicated to training.
Erin, do you want to explain why we can't just get together and talk?
If 9 of us happen to meet up at Starbucks one day and
It's a
have a
quorum.
conversation, that's there's
We're
no,
not,
there's
we're
no-
not gonna talk about specific cases.
No,
That's
It
not the point,
it
is to talk about
constitutes
our internal organization.
That's
It
correct.
how we can do these meetings
constitutes
better.
a meeting under the Planning and Zoning Commission. You're
And we have a
not
quorum, so.
able to
Okay.
do that. You have to do that here, you know, this is the forum for that.
Doesn't mean
Even if we
anybody
talk
else.
about how the meetings in the run, it's still be public.
And we can go through that in,
Maybe we should do it for the public.
I'm not just saying, it's just,
Robert's rules.
I think that's also the Commissioner 101, and that UConn has a great,
You can clear.
a great
yeah.
segment online to that I think would be helpful as
Okay.
well.
You-
We could go over that in person, the basics of that. The format of a meeting you're referring to. Robert,
Yeah,
You
how's
mentioned
it gonna,
Robert's
how's it gonna be, I mean, right now, we're not really using Robert's rules. I mean, if we were, I mean, and I'm only saying this as a former chair of a commission for 9 years. You know, we did everything by the book and everything was Robert's rules. You addressed the chairperson a certain way, you addressed other people's, you know, everything was done formally. I'm not saying I liked it at all. In fact, I didn't. I was uncomfortable with it because I'm a very more casual person. But I think we have to decide how things are gonna be done. And thus, we're not gonna have a meeting like we did last time when Carol has to, you know, call people down, you know, and say, hey, enough. You know, that's a shame that you had to do it. But I think so maybe it is a training. I don't know.
Well, I get you saying, it makes sense, because we're all new, it could be just a special meeting to determine how
How we're gonna run the
meeting
meetings.
flow, yeah, meeting
Exactly.
flow.
It's just about meetings.
So we all
Why we
understand.
have to structure our meetings the way we do, why we can't communicate among ourselves.
Or
in-
you
in
as
groups
chair,
outside.
how are you going to, you know, do our meet, how do you want us?
Yeah.
No, but you're chair, so how do you want us to present and, you know, be commission members? That's
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's
So
what I
it's
feel like.
kind of expected norms and behaviors of this
Exactly.
new commission.
Of our
During
commission,
meeting.
our new
And then
commission,
it-
because
So
we're
would
new
that still
members.
be a meeting open to the public?
Yeah,
Would that?
they all are. Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean, I
special
think of
meeting.
us
It'd be a
very
special
much as
meeting,
a
just schedule
team,
another day.
and I don't need to be called Madam Chair.
No, but
But-
that's what I think we should go over, because so that we'll, at least I feel like I would like to be clear on things like
No, it makes sense, because there's no one to look to say, you five have been doing this for 2 years, just do what they do. Because you're all coming out.
Which is sort of how we all learn, that's how I learned, was
So
just
there's
by
no
sitting
learn,
and
no really
listening.
to learn from, so let's just come up with our own.
I mean, that's how I learned to do archaeology too, for that matter, but that's a different story.
There's no taking it.
There's a lot of it.
that could go along to the lines of bylaws as well, for
The town bylaws
no, for the commission.
for the commission.
Commission has
Adopt
bylaws?
Well, didn't, just,
Yeah.
again, just not to be a jerk about it, but I understand there's rules and stuff, but if I recall, maybe I'm conflating things, but, and again, just point of process, I had to raise my hand and swear that I would uphold a bunch of stuff that I had never read or never heard about and didn't know anything about. The state of Connecticut stuff, United States, town of Madison, so isn't what we're talking about here, maybe some of those rules, some of those policies, some of those regulations, we should share and go through that, so, because right now, I'm probably in violation of my oath. Because I, may have spoke out of turn or something, because I didn't know any of these things.
I don't think it's, speaking out of turn,
But I'm hyperbole, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can go online and read all that stuff.
Well, no, and I have, it's
Yeah.
not I just think since we're all new and we don't really know
And now
each
we have
other,
a full commission.
now we have a full commission, that's the only reason I'm
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
it up.
If we had a
Yeah.
party.
That we seem to be, for the first time.
Well, I wonder if we could just tack it on
just
to the
put
end of
that
the
on a
meeting.
special meeting, yeah, or a special, just a
Have a special meeting and just.
an
Yes,
hour to
exactly,
go
yeah.
through.
That'd be
That's
great.
fine.
And
And oftentimes,
Okay, I like,
and oftentimes, especially as there, it may not, I don't know that necessarily, there are requirements for ongoing training for commissioners, but it is quite common where even, council or some who can answer all, and staff can do general, you can have specialized trainings, but you can just have general. And oftentimes that does happen. I'm doing that with our inland wetlands agency next month, as it's, and Pete and Ira had said that, well, we're really busy in January because we have a lot of new first selectmen or a lot of new board members, and they want to schedule some initial meetings.
Training.
So that's fine. And
That's
maybe
really
that's
helpful.
something that we build in annually.
yeah,
That
Sure.
you plan in the beginning of the year, and you don't necessarily have to go in depth over all of your process, but yeah. And then also building on that, we can create, and Carol and I have talked about this, welcome packets for, we
Onboarding.
try for onboarding. We do try, we have meetings with new commission members to go through
Yep.
all of the hats that you wear and reference. I do have, requested money and kind of reallocated budget money for these legally required books for you as reference to be able to provide to the commission, so. Right.
No, I.
Right, but in anticipating, I did kind of readjust our budget moving forward for ongoing training, anticipating that we're gonna have people come in and they may not all be free. But I think that's,
One thing that
I
really
agree
brought
with you.
this up to me was last week, when,
Last meeting?
last meeting, when the person in the back row, who we all heard, except Bob, because he wasn't here, spoke out and accused Carol of not running the meetings and you running the meetings, and you being the one who ran everything, and we were your puppets, basically. So that's why I'm saying I don't want that to happen again, and in our public hearings, in our public setting. So I think that's another reason that we should just flush out the structure.
I agree with you, and that interruptions in a meeting shouldn't happen in general. It's
It's not productive.
poor behavior.
Well, it's also,
But I don't necessarily, you can't prevent someone from having an opinion and
No, and I'm
from
not saying
making
that.
statements. So
but
I
I'm
think
just saying
I'm
it
all
was
for.
because of that statement that I said I felt like,
Yeah.
now that there are 9 of us, we need to, figure out,
The dynamics.
Yeah. so that we're seen as a strong commission. Because I think we aren't. I think we're seen as, oh, that guy's new, she's new, she came in, I mean, people who are consistently seeing us, like Marjorie, are like, oh, there's another new face this week, now we have consistency.
I agree.
And
And I don't think you should sell yourself short. I think you have 2 new members over the last couple of months, but I think this board has had significant growth since you have been appointed. And I can see that just in your interactions. So I don't necessarily believe that.
frankly, on
think
the
you've had
positive
a lot
side,
of
I know I'm-
applications before you and challenging things and coming in, understanding that you're in the process of a plan of conservation and development, the master plan for your community.
For 10 years.
You have a
10
very
years,
heavy
that's a-
workload right now. So, and you're making thoughtful decisions, you're asking questions, you need some education on things, but that is my job to provide you with those sections of the regulations that you need to, and some things take experience. So,
And how we're perceived, I think we're gonna be criticized no matter what.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
So-
think that's
But
just.
what I'm trying to say was something which is great about this group. I don't think there's the Duzla faction, his followers, and then there's the engineers who stick together on everything. And then there's, no, there's none of that.
No, we don't.
You know, honest to God. And
None of the
you
teams
never
here.
get that. So this is, I've been on some groups where, people,
I take it as a compliment.
there's certain subgroups and we don't do that. I hope we never do. So let's.
That's why I don't want you meeting separately, little groups to form your
Sure,
pockets.
sure, that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah, Duzla probably does that.
I think that would work out okay though in the end.
It did,
Right,
it
so-
did. No, I wasn't, that wasn't a criticism. I was
Yeah.
just saying, from the public and the
Perspective.
here, that's why that we need to at least appear that we're together behind Caroline. That's all,
Right.
that's all I'm saying.
I think you just sort of have to take a little bit of incoming attack, right? You never
Yeah.
predict it, and then you deal with it professionally, which we did.
I agree.
That's happened.
I called to commend her. I mean, I was
I know,
glad.
I
So,
appreciated that.
No, but I was so glad you.
We survived, and
Yeah.
it's funny when I watched the YouTube of that, using that as a case study, it didn't feel as bad as it did here.
As it did here.
And I just thought, what is going on with these guys?
That guy, yeah.
Well, I was just.
Strong opinion.
Could be a lot worse.
Strong opinion.
Right, I mean, he knows better than to.
You should have some.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea,
Little
to
league meetings,
have
you know,
a
talk
special,
about
where
strategy.
we can just talk about
And you know what?
ourselves.
It could be educational to the public as well, right?
Absolutely, it could be almost like a
Yeah.
public outreach. Because I think one of the big misunderstandings is what is the role of the town planner, and
Absolutely.
what are the commissioners, and who's the whole thing of who's in charge or who's working for whom, or however you want to put it. To me, it's a collaboration. We rely on,
It is.
obviously, on Aaron.
Sure.
For so much, and I don't see that as a problem. That's what you're there for. That's what, we're here as the lay people from town. We all have different views of what we want for Madison, and you've got to guide us with all that we need guidance on.
I agree, we can't, that guy had an axe to grind.
Yeah,
So,
there's some issues there, so. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
Well, I think, structurally, Aaron, you work providing advice to developers on how to apply. That's appropriate. They're coming to the town and
Making sure their
they need to know, no, you
application
have to
is
fill out
complete.
Form 16G and you need to do this, you need to, and that's your job. But that can lead to people perceiving that somehow you're quote, pro-developer. And that's structurally, you're stuck with that because that's your job to explain, how to present an application. It's not you're doing something wrong, you're doing exactly what that's your
A lot
job.
of hats.
But structurally.
And I think that public opinion is generally that, the zoning commission should have more power than it does.
That's why I think explaining, what we can and can't do is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
To them.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, sure.
And, on that, I promise I'll shut up soon, but I found looking at all these notes fascinating. Because there's different people with different attitudes as to what our role is, and different commissioners from the last commission had different. And you had John Gatkowski saying that, just see if they check off. But he also then concluded with, well, the role of the commission is to look for Madison 30 years from now. And think, is what these people are asking, is that gonna help our town be better 30, 40 years from now? And that's hard.
The planning part.
Okay, good idea, Janet, thank you. Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second right here.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Raquel.
Great.